The following is a live sports event featuring the Abernathy Antelopes or Lady Lopes. This broadcast is a presentation of the Abernathy Sports Network and may not be altered or used in its entirety without the written consent from the Abernathy Sports Network. Today's broadcast is made possible by the fine supporters: MC Master Roofing and Construction, South Plains Auto Ranch, Clark Riley Insurance, April Funeral Home and Flower Shop, First Baptist Church, JC's Refrigeration, Storm Guard, Plains Land Bank, Nutrient Ag Solutions, the Junkin Farmers Market, MZJ Variety Shop, Shallowater, Rooted Revival Hair Salon, Chance Rocha, Edward Jones Financial Advisor, Code 3 Soda Shop and Meat Market, Lasso Electric, Webb Vision Center, Hill Vet, WTX Diesel, West Texas Brick and Stone, Rural Roots Medical Clinic, the Farmers Cooperative Compress, First State Bank, DB Media, Ty Horsford Realtor. Again, thank you for tuning in tonight's live sports event. It will begin shortly.
Quarter. There's an empty backfield looking to throw. Wiley swings it out over to the far side. Lots of room. 10-5 touchdown. Coming up. There's the snap. Another handoff underneath. And the first one there behind the line of scrimmage is number 50, Dyson Garcia. Sideline. Fakes that. That's actually the snap to Micheletti. Micheletti takes off. He may have his second touchdown of the night. And he does! Colt Micheletti from 28 yards. Highly three-receiver set. There's Rolando in motion. He gets the pin, and he hits the hole hard. He's into the red zone. He's carrying tacklers. He's Superman into the end zone. Rolando Martinez on the second. And good evening, Abernathy, Texas, and good evening, fans of the Abernathy Antelopes and Lady Lopes. It is Wednesday night, about 8 o'clock, and you know what that means. Outside the Box is on the air. Voice of the Antelopes, Ty Horsford, alongside that other guy. He is Chance Rocha, and we are thrilled to be with you. Episode number 3 of Season 2. Of Outside the Box, and glad to have you with us here after an eventful, non-eventful trek to Stratford on Friday night. Had some similar occurrences during the Tech game on Saturday. Just a kind of a weather-impacted weekend, if you will, here in West Texas. And we'll recap it all. We'll talk how it all went down here tonight on the broadcast. Chances. Maybe you call it a no contest with the Stratford Elks, a game that did not reach halftime. Again, we'll talk a little bit about that as we go throughout the program tonight. But what do you say we just jump right in and get started here this evening, Chances? We take a look around AISD, sometimes around our community as well. Again, outside the box. It's because sometimes we step outside the box of sports. Not very often, but we do sometimes. And we talk some pretty cool things happening. And Chance, we talked about it last season for sure on Outside the Box, but another year of Little Bucks is off and moving at the Abernathy Elementary School.
Yeah, it is, and we're excited. It's a program that me and you both are a part of, and in conjunction with Amy Magianis, we kind of headed up this program, and it's really just a mentorship for the young man here in our community, and it's super, super meaningful, not only to us, but also to those Little Bucks. And, you are seeing some pictures right now of a few of those young men and some of the mentors that were there. We had our kickoff luncheon, had some pizza and some Gatorade and stuff for the boys, and got to eat lunch with them and got to go to recess and, stretch out that arm a little bit, throw some touchdowns, play some soccer and some basketball and stuff. And just got to spend some time with them in their space and got to hear about their summers and all the fun things. So it's super exciting. We have just over 22 students that are a part of the program. We have 13 mentors. That's up from last year. We've added a few mentors this year. So shout out to those guys who were able to join. And it's just, things that we try to instill in them and the young man in this community, just, teach them about responsibility, respect, and just a lot of the things. It takes a village, and it's just one little thing that we can do to kind of give back.
Yeah, man. So shout out to our counselor at the elementary school, Amy Magianis, and of course you, Chance, big masterminds behind making it happen.
About that.
And well, you were the visionary once upon a time for it, or part of that process, and I know you and I both really enjoy being a part of a program that matters.
Yep.
And some great kids a part of the Little Bucks Mentor program as well. And so that is off and running. So if you randomly see some of us old guys roaming around the school around lunchtime, no worries.
Yeah,
we're just probably there to maybe have lunch, if you will. But so Little Bucks off and running. Youth flag football, Chance. Another season of that is on the horizon. I think I'm still sweating from our practice at 4 o'clock this afternoon. I don't recommend trying to get 5 and 6 year old boys to practice straight from school without a snack, without a drink in the 96-degree weather. But we did it today in preparation for the season starting on Saturday. Again, Abernathy participates in a league that is hosted by Idalou.
Yep.
It's a very well-ran league. Been a part of that for several years. Abernathy's always got, anywhere from 60, 70, 80, maybe up, maybe down a little bit, depending on the year. A number of kids and teams participating in that league. So a lot of those games end up taking place at Idalou.
They do.
With a select few here in Abernathy, but kids of all ages, about boys and girls, it's about to be off and running there as well.
Yeah, it's a good time, and I know both of us coach teams, and a handful of other of our friends are able to too. But it's a good little program. They play 10 games, and it starts fast, quick, and in a hurry. You feel like you get those first 4 practices under your belt, and then kind of like you, I think you have 2 games already on Saturday, so you start off quick.
Yeah, 9 and 10 a.m., 5 and 6 year olds doubleheader. Let's go. If you've got absolutely nothing else to do, we'll be in Idalou, Texas, playing youth football on Saturday. Moving right along, Chance, wanted to talk about, and this is going to be a change that really could affect some of our, not only in Abernathy, but really across the state of Texas, sporting events, being hosted by Abernathy and these different schools. And this is actually not even a UIL thing. This is a Texas state law that was put into action effective immediately. Senate Bill 2929 coming down from the state says game officials or referees may now remove spectators immediately for disruptive or inappropriate behavior. No warning is required. And so where that kind of changes from years past, there was a warning process. It had to go from the official to whoever the school's game administrator was, which is usually a principal, superintendent, athletic director, whoever, and then it was dealt with. Well, no longer have to go through those channels. A referee can turn around and say, "Hey, Chance, you're being disruptive. You're out," and it's upheld. There's no questions asked. And so we can talk about this a little bit. I think there's probably going to be some differing opinions on it. And while I do agree with the basis behind it, obviously you want to promote good sportsmanship. You don't want things to get out of hand. And with 98% of officials, I think it'll be fine.
Yeah.
But I do think that there is some room in there that could cause some problems, if you will.
Well, you're going to have some dissension of an official or a ref who is just having a bad day, and one fan may mouth off or may just say something that may not even be that blatant, but they may just say, hey, you're gone. And I'm curious to see, so does it have to be the head official, or can it be any official?
I think it can be any of them.
Interesting. That makes it, because you wonder if it's just like, hey, I'm having a problem with them, they're gone. And also, I think the biggest deal with it, and is not just the fact that you don't have to go to the administrator, but the school and the administration has to make sure that they don't come back on, or you have to have local law enforcement there to say, hey, they have to leave the stadium. But also, I think the big thing is, one of the rules is if you have 3 incidents of this happening, then you can possibly not have officials for home games. That's a big deal when you're talking about hosting and district play and all those kind of things.
You're talking about forfeits and playoffs and all sorts of things being affected. And like I said, I think 98% of the time it will be just fine. The law is there to promote sportsmanship, and I get it, but and I hate to use this word, but sometimes you get an egotistical official.
Yeah, you do.
That just wants to prove a point. And also something I thought about, Chance, and this may be stretching it a little bit because maybe people won't do this. Maybe my mind just goes crazy places. But for example, say Abernathy and Shallow Water are having a heated rivalry battle or something at Abernathy, and a jack wagon from Shallow Water wants to come over into the Abernathy into the Abernathy section or whatever,
and rile us up. Yeah,
they cause problems. They get tossed, or they cause something to happen. Then, in that instance, is the punishment on Shallow Water,
right?
Or is it a peg against Abernathy because it's an Abernathy home contest?
Or is it both? And it's hard to who's going to keep track of those?
Lots of gray area there.
Yeah, I think it's something that, and I know that our staff and our administrators are ahead of the curve, and they know this is coming, and so they're going to have a plan in place to make sure that we stay ahead of that. And that's just kind of the staff, the administration that you want, just to make sure that, and our superintendent, principals, assistant principals, local law enforcement. We have great people all throughout this community that are always there at the games, making sure that no funny business is happening. And if it does happen, it's handled in the proper manner and a timely manner as well. So,
yeah, absolutely. So come fall, we are in fall, but I guess it's already.
Well, so come Friday.
Friday. I mean, I see it being more of a thing, maybe. At basketball games, maybe.
I can see that,
just because you've got.
I wasn't even thinking about that.
Honestly. My mind went basketball because you're indoors, tighter space. I mean, if somebody's acting in a way that they're hurt at a football game, maybe it'll be justified. I don't know. Man. But anyway, so there were no incidents at Stratford that I'm aware of on Friday night, even though we only had about a quarter and a half to test the waters. But nonetheless, just wanted to make everyone aware of that and have some discussion surrounding that. And so that's a quick look around Abernathy ISD. Let's take our first quick break on the program, and we will come back and continue this week in sports at Abernathy High School and ISD. Stick with us. Something new has taken Abernathy by storm. Code 3 Soda Shop and Meat Market is locally owned by first responders and offers fresh salad and deli options for lunch or dinner, any drink combination under the sun, and the freshest beef around. We are open 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday through Saturday and are ready to serve you. We are a faith and family first business and are proud supporters of our Antelopes and Lady Lopes, as well as a title sponsor on this broadcast. Come see us in the Red Barn on the north end of town. Your home is your most valuable asset, and when you need repairs or upgrades, you want a name that you can trust. That name is MC Master Roofing and Construction. Their team will help guide you through every step of the process, from your insurance claim to a completed project. Small town and locally owned and operated, MC Master will not only get the job done, but they'll get it done right. They are a proud title sponsor of this broadcast and a proud supporter of Abernathy's young people. Give them a call today at 806-698-4653. And welcome back into the Outside the Box studio. Again, our second segment of the show tonight, where we take a look around this week in sports at Abernathy ISD. And obviously, we always talk about the spring being a busy sports season. Fall's pretty busy.
It is.
As well. Cross country is off and running, literally. And they ran in some
Their first official
meet this last Saturday after getting home 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning.
Those are some tough girls and boys.
Yeah, absolutely. From Stratford, ran in the mud, ran in the mist and rain and all of that good stuff. In Acuff, as Roosevelt hosted a cross-country meet, Chance. And I saw a few videos on social media and whatnot of literally runners like running through puddles ankle deep. And I'm like, man, this is like an obstacle course, if you will. But not a bad showing for the first meet. Talked to Coach Carrie Carlisle today. She was pleased. Our varsity girls finished third overall as a team. Brianna Shorter leading the way. She got third place overall. Gabby Cruz comes in and places fifth to pace the varsity girls. So a good start for them. And then Chance, on the boys' side, they don't have enough to score as a team, just 4 runners on the varsity boys. But freshman Kingston Offill led the way. He finished 8th overall out of, I believe, Coach Carlisle said 112 or 122 boys runners. And so a good showing for him as well.
Yeah, that's awesome. And, shout out to them. Like you said, a lot of those kids in a small school like Abernathy, they're doing a lot of things. So most of them were at the game on Friday. Most of them were riding a bus or getting home late. And, it was funny. We were coming back and we stopped at good old Buc-ee's in Amarillo. You always got to make that Buc-ee stop. And some of those kids on the band bus, you're looking at them, they're getting all kinds of snacks, and it's 11:30, 12 at night.
Sour Patch at midnight.
And I'm thinking, y'all have to be up at 6:30. And in my head, I'm thinking, to be young again. But, Kingston, he was one on that band bus. And I'm like, hey, man, if you're going to do it. But obviously, it didn't phase him one bit. He was able to still run pretty good. So
it took me 2 days to recover from that trip, Chance.
But, yeah, shout out to them. And I know the course was definitely tough. Talking to Lake, and she was like, they even did a little revamp of the course, but it was still crazy and nasty. I was like, oh, well, that's what happened. So I know junior high, I don't think they ran this week. I can't remember if they did or not, but I know that high school is off this coming weekend. So after that long-awaited first meet, they're off this weekend, but junior high does run. They run in Littlefield over the weekend.
Yep, and then I believe varsity will be back at it at LCU again the following Saturday.
Both of them, I think, do it. The LCU invite. So
there you go, and that'll be a normal meet,
not the relay race.
Switching gears, Chance, talking a little bit about volleyball. Our 7th and 8th grade volleyballers doing an excellent job. They've had an extremely strong start to the season. They have been victorious definitely more times than not.
Yep.
And they swept their matches with Olton on Labor Day. And saw some pictures and different things. Big crowds out there supporting our
junior
high, JV, and our varsity as well. But it's good to see all those programs and all those teams being supported.
For sure.
And then JV and varsity, they both and I didn't get to go, but talked to some people that were there. Sounds like last night both JV and varsity played really, really well. They played a pretty good Idalou team, and both were very competitive matches. And you're playing Idalou, a school that's a classification ahead of you, an athletic, successful program as well. And so that volleyball team, they're just getting better and better.
They're just chomping at the bit, Ty. And I think that as the season progresses, and I know Coach Kat alluded to it, in her interview, but just the fact that she's excited for where they're going. She knows it's continuing to build. And just looking at that 7th and 8th grade group and, that support that they have with the crowds in the stands, you just see how much it means to those girls, to the parents. And so just the buy-in that she's getting for that volleyball group. And so it's exciting. Look for some more exciting things to come. So both the JV and varsity will be back in action on Saturday here in Abernathy. They're playing Loop, and then junior high will be back in action on Monday. They head to Ropes to play.
Yep, absolutely. And then obviously the one team, Chance, that did get to complete a game this weekend was actually pre-weekend on Thursday night. The Stratford Elks JV made the trip to Abernathy to take on the Antelope JVers. And Chance, our JV squad kind of got a dose of Texas Panhandle football on Thursday night.
They did, and it was, one of those things to where it's a lot of freshmen on that JV squad. They're playing a tough, stout Stratford team who probably may not have had as many youngsters, may have had a little bit more experience, but it wasn't a bad showing. It was just kind of the ball was bouncing Stratford way. A couple big hits. We had a couple fumbles, a couple interceptions, but the boys battled all the way through to the end, but they ended up coming up short against Stratford. And I just think
20-6, is that right?
Yeah, 20-6 was the final score. And so it was, like I said, kind of a taste of high school football for a lot of those boys. They played some scrimmages, but it's definitely a different animal when you get up against some of those boys. Some of those freshmen, now you're playing against kids, some who are 16 or maybe even 17 if they're still on JV. And so it's a little bit different than, playing against kids that are just in your grade for sure. So
yeah, absolutely. And that kind of leads us in, Chance, to recapping Friday night or a partial Friday night of high school football. We spent much more time on the road than we did at a football game on Friday.
A scary road.
Hey, but it was, especially coming back between Stratford and Dumas, it was pretty hairy at times. I saw we saw a massive lightning strike. I still don't know what that lightning
something
hit
exploded. It was
up
crazy
in front of us, but we all made it back.
We did.
In one piece. Again, you don't get to complete that ball game. Game called with 4:28 left in the first half. Stratford was leading at that point, 14-0. It had not been a dominant performance, but it kind of had as well.
It was weird.
It wasn't a blowout yet. It did seem like Stratford was gaining momentum, but there was a lot of football left to be played. Really, from an Abernathy standpoint, you just struggled with moving the ball consistently on offense. Only 87 yards of total offense in that first half. You had a decent first drive that you failed to get it fourth down after you had moved into the red zone. And then really after that, the Stratford defense really kind of put the hammer down.
Yeah, they put the hammer down, and it was more so of like, you had lost your go-to guy. Colt had to sit out. He was in concussion protocol, and we'll kind of get to some of that. But so you started with your freshman, Aiden, and there were some, probably some nerves there that went with that. He still ran hard, but just couldn't get in a rhythm. It was, getting a 1 or 2 yard gain, if any gain at all. And so if you're not threatening on the run, it's hard to kind of open up the pass. And so there was some times where Jagger did have time, but when he had time, we weren't getting guys open. And so one thing was good, and then we couldn't, get over the hump on that. And then, we would get third and long and something would happen and Stratford would give us a first down. And like you said, just couldn't capitalize on some of those things. But it was tough. I was impressed with the speed of our defense. We did give up the big pass play. They had roughly 170 yards passing, and 110 of that came on 2 passes. One was a 98-yard touchdown on the second play of the game for them, and the other one was, you had them in a third and long, and they ended up converting a 20-yard pass. Receiver just kind of got past some of the defenders and threw it over our heads, but other than that, the speed was good as far as getting to the quarterback, and we stopped the run. I mean, pretty frequently. We held them under 30 yards rushing, which was very, very good on our end, but especially coming up against a team like Sunray,
they're going to throw the ball.
Yeah, they are.
And we will preview that in a little bit. But yeah, you're right, Chance. A big question mark, I felt like, for Abernathy going into the game was how you were going to fare up front. Mm-hmm. And I think you saw a mixed bag there, if you will. I think on the offensive line, you did a pretty good job, like you said, pass blocking.
Yeah.
Jagger had time to throw. Now, the problem there was receivers couldn't get open.
I will say, our boys are not used to playing on grass.
Yeah.
That does make a difference, and that sounds kind of silly sometimes, but when you're not used to playing on grass, it can make you feel a lot slower for sure. Getting in and out of your cuts and things like that. But there was some instances where it just felt like, man, he had some time, but just couldn't get some guys open. And credit to Stratford's defense. 100%. They did a good job. But like you said, our pass blocking was good. The run up front, it wasn't bad per se. It was just we weren't creating holes similar to what we saw last year.
Yeah, it didn't really open up lanes. And so that's something that you knew you were going to struggle with probably going in. And again, defense played well against the run, struggled giving up the big pass play, especially on those couple of scoring plays. But really, Chance, and you always hate when this is the case, but I really feel like the way you even started the game, we got word during our pregame show that Colt Micheletti was not going to be in the lineup, but really the big story was health and is health, even going into your matchup with Sunray. Chance, we've talked about it. It's no secret. Abernathy is not a deep ball club.
Right.
You're not going to be able to withstand a bunch of injuries, maybe like you have been in the past. And so you were without Micheletti. He didn't play at all. I do think that made a big difference. I mean, obviously, he's your primary
confidence-wise
running back.
He had your experience, correct.
And then you've got Isaac Reyes, who went out early in the ball game with some type of knee, ankle, something or
leg
other.
Injury, yeah.
I know he was getting checked out and had doctor's appointments this week. I have not heard anything about that. And then kind of a scary moment for Darian Duval right as that game was about to go into a delay that it would never come out of. He kind of was turned over, took a big hit, came up hurting in his back. Turns out, thank you, Jesus. It was precautionary, but they strapped him to a stretcher, put him in the ambulance, and went and had him checked out. From what we've heard, though, Darian is going to be fine. And it'll just be a matter of when he feels like he can get back on the field. Because as far as medically, he might be a little sore, but outside of that, he's fine.
Well, and injuries like that, you getting upended, that can shake just about anybody up, and it just it does something to your nerves. I understand that, but at the same time, like you said, we have a lot of skill guys. We just don't have a lot of experience in that factor. The guys that you had, they've only had that 1 year. Colt only played varsity for a handful of games, so even for him, he's not super experienced in the backfield. And so when you lose somebody like that, and, credit to Aiden stepping up and starting that game, and Malachi Walters, who got some carries later on. Aiden ran hard, but there's a big jump running from an 8th grade to a varsity schedule like that, especially when your first one is up against Stratford. That's going to be a huge jump. And so just, we talked about that before. It's going to go down as a no contest. You didn't learn a ton, but you learned a little. And so it's going to kind of give us a little bit of insight, but your first real full game and your everything is going to be against Sunray, and you're doing it again on a weird short week with Labor Day and everything. And so and then questions of who is going to be fully back as well. So,
yeah, absolutely. And Chance, oddly enough, one of the questions I've gotten most this week, multiple times, is does that even count as a game?
Yeah.
And my first answer is it really doesn't matter.
Right.
It's not a district game, so it's probably going to be whatever the school counts it as.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, my assumption is Stratford will count it as a win. Abernathy will count it as a no contest, and we'll move on. And so whether you say Abernathy's 0-0, 0-1, it really doesn't matter a whole lot at this point in these non-district ball games. But,
the paper had it as a loss.
Yeah.
Max Preps had it as a loss. Dave Campbell's came out with an article because Stratford has their big game this week against Panhandle.
No contest.
And they put in there, as a no contest, what Stratford had learned from that game. But, officially it probably is. But like you said, for the stat sheet, they're probably going to say that they're 1-0 because they didn't lose. We technically didn't lose either because we didn't finish the game.
Who knows what would have happened?
That's right. We were going to come back in the pouring rain. That's what we were waiting on.
That's exactly what was going to happen. Let's take one more break. We will come back and finish up our program. We'll preview the Sunray Bobcats just a little bit and finish up our Outside the Box, Episode 3, Season 2. Stick with us. You're listening to the Abernathy Antelope Sports Network.
Rooted Revival is your local faith-based salon that is rooted in Christ and built on community. A fresh, peaceful space for everyday hair, confidence, and connection. Whether it's a kid's cut, a men's trim, or a full highlight, stylist Hannah Rocha and Sierra Contreras can take care of you. With a heart for people and a passion for purpose, they are proud to serve the community of Abernathy and West Texas. You can find them on Facebook or stop by and see them at 203 Avenue D in Abernathy to schedule your next appointment. Lasso Electric and Abernathy is locally owned and operated. Although they specialize in agricultural projects, they can also handle your residential needs as well. Whether your project is big or small, they have the expertise to handle the job. If you're in need of a licensed electrician, give Daryl Scarborough a call today at 806-559-7058. Lasso Electric wishes the Lopes and Lady Lopes good luck this season.
And one more time back here inside the Outside the Box studio, if you will, a.k.a. My playroom.
Let's go. Not Ty's playroom, his kid's playroom.
There you go.
Just for reference. It's Hot Wheels and baby dolls.
That's how rumors get started in small town Texas. Oh, man. Gotta love it. Let's preview the Sunray Bobcats a little bit, Chance. And before we do that, if you were with us on the show last week, we kind of had a season preview type interview with Coach Justin Wiley, and we didn't really get to play that because we had some unknown technical issues, but we do have that figured out now, and we did want you to hear from the head man himself. And so before we get into Sunray, a little bit of this interview might be dated as he talks about Stratford a little and whatnot, but let's hear from the head man, and then we will jump in to the Sunray preview.
Rock and roll. Coach, good afternoon. I appreciate you taking the time to meet with us today and ask you a couple questions here for Outside the Box. So you just finished up practice and done all your preseason. Friday starts the season. So kind of tell us where you think your team stands after those first two scrimmages and what you expect for Friday night.
I think our kids have worked extremely hard all through the summer workouts, into the start of football camp this fall. They're doing the things that we ask them to do. I think overall I think we're pretty deep in some skill positions. We're pretty thin along the line. You got to stay healthy. Any 2A team will tell you that all it takes is one or two rolled ankles and things will get hard in a hurry. So. I think as long as we can stay healthy, and I think that we can be pretty successful this season. As far as the scrimmages go, I thought we played two good programs. River Road, much bigger school than us, gave us a little challenge, but we kind of saw the fight and the energy that our guys brought to it was exciting to see. And then you get to play Clarendon, who's coached by the Caffeys. The dad and the son have both coached in several schools in the Lubbock area. They're always going to be well coached, always going to be a physical team. They kind of got us right there at the beginning of the scrimmage, where had a little adversity, and then we came out and firing on all cylinders. And so I was glad to see our guys respond to a little bit of adversity early on in the season. As far as Stratford is concerned, they're one of those just consistently solid programs. I would compare them to like a Canadian, a Cisco, an Albany, a small school that no matter what, no matter what graduation did the year before, they're always going to be consistent and very tough, go multiple rounds deep in the playoffs. And so it'll be a good challenge for us right off the bat. We're looking forward to it. Hope our guys are as excited and as prepared as our coaches are for this opportunity Friday.
For sure. And, you mentioned some of those programs, and you've done some of that this year. A good program, they're known as more of, you don't rebuild, you reload.
Right.
So you have some guys coming back in the skills positions. Kind of talk about some of the guys, some faces we may see that we're not familiar with that we may see on Friday. Okay.
I think we hired a new baseball coach this year. He's got a son that'll play for us. He number 0, Caden Bird. He's played a lot as a freshman and a sophomore at Dalhart as a running back and skill or slot receiver for them. And in the return game, we hope to take advantage of him in those areas. So that's a new name to our program. We've got a freshman that'll be playing some running back, Aiden Villarreal. If you're from here, if you've come to the A-Town relays and watch him run, the kid's got incredible speed, and so he's going to bring a lot of speed to the varsity team. Up on the line, we've got a couple of young linemen, that'll need to fill in, and some holes that were left by some of the seniors last year. We got Gabriel Ortiz, playing a guard. JJ Gonzalez will be playing center. Guys that are new to varsity this year and new in those roles.
Gotcha. I gotcha. So those are the new faces. You mentioned you have a lot of skill guys coming back. Who do you see possibly on your team that could possibly step up and be that leader for your team, for the offense or the defensive side?
Well, I mean, you hope by position that your quarterback does. I mean, I know he's my son, but I'm hoping that that as a coach that I want to see leadership out of that position. As a father, I want to see my son be able to do those same things. And so it's his second year running the offense. His reads are much faster, knowing where to go with the ball. Where things should happen and how things should happen. He should be prepared for that. And so I hope to see good leadership out of him. Jay Karkey and Ryan Hillis, veterans along the line. Those guys right there should be able to provide us some leadership. They've been consistent two-way players for us for a couple of years now, and so this is their third year on varsity. Excited to see what they can bring.
Gotcha. And Coach, is there anything on Friday night that you would say would be special about this team that's going to kind of be different from last year's team?
Last year we were pretty big along the line and had a veteran running back in Rolando. This year we're young in some of those spots, and so I think instead of the block down, kick out, run it downhill, it might be a more Texas Tech style. Air it out and get the ball out to our skill position guys out in space, and let our real athletic guys operate in space.
Gotcha. A lot quicker of a game, a lot more get the ball to the athletes.
That basketball and grass mentality.
There you go. I like it. I like to hear that. So, I'm excited, Coach. I appreciate you taking the time out here with us today, and we're excited for Friday night.
Thank you.
And once again, welcome back here inside Outside the Box. Thanks to Coach Wiley for joining us on the program. Again, that was an interview we were going to air for you last week. I did not get to it because of those technical difficulties. But again, you heard a little bit about Stratford. You heard a little bit about Sunray and previewing a lot of the things we have already talked about, Chance. And we'll kind of switch gears and preview Sunray just a little bit. But before we do that, quickly, I won't go into a lot of depth here, but I always like to let you know how our fellow district foes came out in week one, and it was kind of a mixed bag of tricks there as well. You've got Olton. They fell short to a supposed to be pretty good Sudan team, albeit a smaller division, smaller classification. But Sudan tops Olton 19-7. Post tops Kermit 37-6. Post, one of those teams, state ranked, district favorite, all of the above. However,
moved up in the rankings.
They moved up in the rankings to number 7 this week. But we did hear that there might have been a collarbone injury to their starting quarterback. So if that's the case, could be a huge story there to monitor for the Bold Gold. New Deal and Farwell, similar to us, they didn't make it very far into their game. They were a no contest, tied at 7. And then Floydada, they kind of took it on the rump by the Tulia Hornets 46-14. I think it's going to be a long season for those Whirlwinds. Yeah,
and same goes. Different new home team, but they dropped to Liberty. Liberty got the revenge. They kind of pummeled them 49-7.
Liberty is
much different from last year's Liberty team for sure.
100%,
so,
100%.
But I guess congrats to new superintendent over there, getting his first W over a familiar foe.
There you go. So we switch gears now, Chance. We've been saying we're going to preview Sunray. We can actually preview Sunray now, if you will. They are going to come in at 0-1 on the season. They kind of let one get away from them. They lost a double overtime shootout. They went across the border to take on Hooker, Oklahoma, and it was a game that they led throughout, but in double overtime, it's Hooker getting a 50-42 win over the Sunray Bobcats. Doesn't sound like there was a whole lot of defense in that one. It was kind of the first taste of life without Armando Lujan, at least for the last 4 years for for Sunray.
Yeah, it definitely was, and you kind of mentioned it. High scoring affair. Both the teams played a similar style of throwing the ball around and opening things up to open up the run, but that's probably their biggest question mark is defense. But they have a guy in quarterback Zeke Grahada. He completed 16 passes for 262 yards to kind of lead their offense, and he also did use his legs. But they're a team, Ty, that is kind of built similar to us. They're not returning a ton. They're returning 6 total lettermen and only 2 starters. And guess what? Their starters are offensive and defensive linemen. Mm-hmm. And so we're returning a handful of guys very similarly, but our team is very eerily similar. We're both going to want to spread it out, and we're both going to want to play fast. And so we'll see how that pans out on Friday, but very similar to us as far as their makeup overall.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we'll kind of see. You're coming off of a matchup with Sunray Chance last season where you just kind of got, you did get manhandled. It
was a weird game.
It was close for a while. I don't know that you ever really felt like you had a chance to win it, but
no.
It kind of snowballed on you late. 39-0 it ends up. Actually, Lujan did not play a big chunk of that game.
Yeah, it was.
And it was who we're going to see on Friday night in Grahada, who was their backup quarterback. And so Abernathy trying to remedy that just a little bit, if you will, but it's going to be another tough contest. When the season started, or kind of thinking through it pre-season, pre-district, I circled this one as one, that might be one you can walk in and take care of business because you're without Armando Lujan. They've lost a lot of talent. Sunray, not a traditional power, although they have been really good the last couple of years, losing lots of that talent. But they proved in their season opener they can move the ball, they can score points against a pretty good Hooker team, and so you expect it to be a formidable foe. And I think there's some question marks for Abernathy going into the game. Obviously, just from a realistic standpoint, is health. Who plays? Mm-hmm. Who's on the field? Are you going to see Darian Duval? Are you going to see Colt Micheletti? Are you going to see Isaac Reyes? I think there's a good chance that you see at least one of those guys back, if not a couple. But again, time will tell. And then, Chance, this is going to be a good gauge of, I think, where you're at. Because I think Sunray's got a defense that you should be able to move the ball against.
Yeah, last year when Sunray played Hooker, a similar to, if you want to compare the two games, they beat Hooker, but it wasn't as high scoring, so their defense is a little bit more stout. So offensively, I think they're the type of offense, if you can get guys open and they run a lot of squirrely routes and their quarterback, he's going to move. He's going to move in the pocket. Just from what I've seen, last year and then also a little bit of the film that I saw from their first game, seeing him move in the pocket, he's not uncomfortable. And so I think they're going to set him up. And because they've ran this offense extensively, the type of offense that we're not really changing, but we're kind of changing a little bit to kind of fit what our skill positions do, it's a little bit newer to our guys. And so I think the gauge is, if you're going to play this game, you're going to want to have some defensive stops, because if you're going to get in a shootout against a team who is built
for shootouts,
that's not something that you're going to want to get. And we talk about lack of depth. You could possibly get very, very tired very, very quickly.
Yeah.
And that's hard. And like I said, they're used to playing at that speed all the time. And they played a full game. They kind of have a full game under their belts as far as speed, experience, all the kind of things in the season when you only played a quarter and a half. So that playing at that game speed for an extended time, it takes your body time to get acclimated to that. So that's kind of one thing too that we kind of have against us as well compared to what they had. So.
And Chance, when you talk about key for Abernathy, obviously we're going to throw the ball. Mm-hmm. You hope that you're able to run enough to complement that and keep defenses honest, if I can spit it out. I do think getting Colt back will
need a drink from Colt 3.
Yeah, absolutely. will help you with that if you're able to get Colt back in the lineup. It just gives you another weapon there
for sure.
But you pointed this out as well, Chance. But against Stratford, I feel like in a sense, and maybe it was what Stratford was doing defensively that you kind of thought that was your best opportunity, but you kind of settled for the deep ball.
Yeah.
You threw the ball down the field a lot, kind of looking for that big play, and the big play never came. The receivers were well covered. We've talked about that, and so I think you're going to have a run game that opens up the pass game, but you're going to have to be able to kind of throw the ball over the field a little bit, get it to guys in space, short dump-offs and screens and crossing patterns. Not to say that you can't hit them with the deep ball.
Right.
I think you can, but I think you're going to have a variation in that passing game.
Well, having a variation, and, no matter who the quarterback is, guess what? Their confidence continues to rise when they see a completion happen. Mm-hmm. So you throw the ball and someone else catches it and you get some yards. You throw the ball and someone catches it, you hand it off and you get a couple yards. Getting in that rhythm builds confidence among the offense, and I think that's something on last Friday that we didn't have. You weren't able to get any kind of rhythm to have some continuity, to build the confidence for Jagger, for the O-line, and for your skill position players. But again, you got to line up and you got to play them. And I think that's something, like I said, they're going to be ready to come and play fast. They got a long trip coming here. So you got to come and be ready to defend home field tie. And I think that our Lopes are up to that challenge. But like you said, a lot of the uncertainties as far as injuries, hopefully most of those guys are back. If they're not, we understand that's part of it. You don't want injuries to happen ever, but if you do, you'd rather them happen now versus in district play. But also, you got to get that game experience, and so it's a tough thing when you're wanting to get all your guys out there, but at the same time you got to make sure that they stay healthy.
So as we talk, I'm going to let you go first, Chance, because I still don't know, but talking about predictions and how we see this one playing out. I think there's about 4 different outcomes that would not surprise me in the least in this game, but. How do you see this one playing out?
We kind of talked about it. Dave Campbell's last week, and the AJ had kind of a flip. AJ had Stratford beating us. Dave Campbell's had us at a 10-point dog, and then they had one of the riders pick Abernathy. We don't know what happened because the game didn't finish out. Dave Campbell's has us basically as a toss-up, even more so. They have Sunray as a 2-point favorite. I think that they're expecting a shootout, but for me, I think if you get in that race, you're going to have defensive stops. And I think the way I saw our defense play and the things that they did well was getting after the quarterback. And if we can do that using our speed coming off the edge, I think if we can get a few stops and get in a rhythm on offense, I think the Lopes will be successful and come out on top. I'm thinking, if you do get there, they're still going to put up points. So you may have to put up 34, 40 points, and they're probably going to still maybe get 20 or 28. So I can see this score being somewhere in that realm of the Lopes coming up with maybe 40 and the Bobcats coming up with 28 or so.
I like your pick. I want your pick to be accurate. I'm going to say this. And I'm going to preface it by saying, Coach Wiley, if you're watching, players, if you're watching, put my face on the bulletin board.
I love the Lopes.
And use it as bulletin board material.
There you go.
I'm trying reverse psychology here. I think there's still a lot of questions that I have about this Abernathy ball club, what they're going to be, what they're going to look like, health. We didn't learn a lot from Stratford. And so that concerns me a little bit because one of the things you did learn from the game against Stratford, and this is not a general statement, but on Friday in Stratford, your pass defense was not very good. And you're playing a team that's going to throw the ball.
Yep.
And so your pass defense is going to have to be better. And so I think that's probably going to be the key to this game. When the dust settles, if I'm being a realist, I'm going to pick Sunray in this one. 41-34. I do think Abernathy will be able to move the ball. I think Abernathy will be able to score. I think it could be a game that comes down to the last possession or two, making some big plays at the end. Again, I'm trying reverse psychology here.
We had a few of those last year.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, again, if you're watching, please use me as bulletin board material. But I'll pick Sunray 41-34.
I get where you're coming from, and you mentioned it. There's about 4 ways this game can go. It could be a straight shootout, a 40-41, 42-41. It could be a possible blowout either direction. I think if our defense plays stout and we kind of find our rhythm, we could run away with it.
If it's a defensive battle, I like your chances.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's why our preference, like if we put up 35 or 40 and we have 2 key stops, then I think we'll come out on top. Like I said, especially with them having to make the travel, the drive, all those kind of things, amped up, home field, first home game of the season, wanting to get that revenge. So there's some emotion behind some of that. And I think that, if you have some of those guys coming back, especially a guy like Colt, he's going to be amped up and ready to play. And I just think that may give you a little bit extra juice. But at the end of the day, we just need to find that leader on both sides of the ball and get out there and get that Antelope victory.
I like it. I hope that's what happens. Chances, just quickly, other games that involve district foes. Ropes takes on New Home. Roosevelt battles New Deal. Dimmitt plays Olton. Floydada and Lockney in that Floyd County showdown, if you will. That's I think they've played like 89 years in a row.
It's
or something
crazy.
Like
it's
that.
something wild, like where it's almost 100 years or something. It's wild.
And Post and Forsan will do battle. And if Post is without their quarterback, it'll be interesting to see how that turns out. So should be another fun. I think it's supposed to be more
fingers crossed,
more weather
friendly,
if you will. I say that, and who knows what'll happen. But hopefully we get to play 4 quarters on Friday night, and Chance. Hopefully we'll have an Antelope victory to wrap up for you next week.
Yep, that'll be exciting. I hope so too, Ty. And I'm still trying to figure out where JV plays tomorrow. I know they don't play in Stinnett. That's what I thought.
Yep.
So if you're going to the JV game, it is not in Sunray. It'll be at West Texas Stinnett. It's about 2 hours and 5 minutes. So if you're planning on going, you better leave early. And it's a very scenic drive out there to Stinnett, Texas.
Let me know how it goes, because I will, after last Friday's fiasco, I will not be making that trip. But hey, my heart will be with the JVers in Stinnett against Sunray.
I'm excited for them. Hopefully they're able to get their first victory of the season, traveling all the way out there to Stinnett. And, kudos to Stinnett for allowing Sunray to host. And, we didn't talk about that much, but Sunray has kind of been up against it. Their entire football stadium, parts of the school, I know, were damaged from high winds, and a lot of things happened weather-wise. And so a lot of their games they're not able to have at their home field. And we did have lots of fun trying to broadcast from their field last year. And so
I don't care if I ever broadcast another game from Sunray, Texas.
Maybe they will get some needed updates after all that did happen. But good luck to them on getting all those things fixed. And like I said, shout out to, I think Wiley told us Stinnett and somebody else is allowing them to have games to host their home games. And so
I can't remember who the other one was.
Was it Sanford Fridge maybe?
They're playing at Stinnett.
Yeah, we're playing at Stinnett. So, and then the Bobcats are coming here on Friday night. Also, if you have a little mini cheerleader, I think they're cheering during the third quarter, correct?
That went to the cheer camp.
If you went to cheer camp, they're cheering at the third quarter of the game. So be there, be early. It's probably going to be a packed house because of all that. And so I like the way they did it in the third quarter. Just make sure all those fans stay throughout the game. Smart.
And then hopefully it's a good game and fans will stick around for the finish. But
for the victory flag to be raised?
There you go. I like it. We'll ring. Abernathy needs
what's we're going to
do? A victory bell.
They had one. They retired it. I think we need another bell back.
I like it, but it doesn't have to ring during the games. It just rings after victories.
That's right. It rings after victories. You wave the flag.
I like it.
Boom. We're good.
Mr. Hill, get on that.
We're going to figure it out.
Until next week. Good night.
God bless.
And go Lopes.